Most people think wealthy people are just lucky. Wrong. Wealthy people are wealthy because they understand one simple rule that average people ignore for their entire lives. Poor people work for money, while rich people buy assets that work for them. That's it. Assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out. And the more assets you own, the less you need to work forever. That's the game. Because if you rely only on a paycheck, you're always one bad month away from stress. But when assets are paying you every single month, you stop trading time for survival. Once you understand this, you start seeing the world differently. You stop asking, how do I make more money? And start asking, how do I buy things that make money for me? That mindset shift changes everything. Take cash, for example. Most people think cash is useless because inflation slowly destroys its value. But wealthy people keep large cash reserves for one reason: opportunity. When markets crash, when businesses fail, when assets go on sale, cash gives you power. Because the person with liquidity controls the deal. That's why companies like Apple keep billions sitting ready. Not because they're scared, but because they're prepared. Now let's talk about one of the biggest wealth creators in history: real estate. Rich people love real estate because it does two things at once. First, it generates monthly cash flow through rent. Second, it appreciates over time. So while someone else is paying the mortgage, the property itself is increasing in value. That's double leverage. And here's the important part most people miss. Your home is not an asset if it only costs you money. An asset pays you. A liability bills you. That distinction alone can completely change your financial future. Then there's stocks. And no, stocks are not gambling. When you buy stocks, you're buying ownership in real businesses. You own pieces of companies like Microsoft, Amazon, and Nvidia. That means while you sleep, those companies keep selling products, generating profits, and growing. Over time, your ownership becomes more valuable. But wealthy people understand something even more powerful than individual stocks: index funds, because the average person is not beating the market consistently. Even the smartest investors struggle to do that. So instead of trying to pick random winners, wealthy people buy the market itself. That's why the S&P 500 has created more millionaires than almost anything else. Simple, boring, consistent, and consistency builds wealth. The wealthy also buy invisible assets, things like brands, patents, copyrights, and systems, because intellectual property scales infinitely. You write a book once and sell it forever. Record a song once and collect royalties for decades. Create software once and millions of people can use it at the same time. That's why creators, founders, and investors become insanely wealthy. They stop selling hours and start selling systems. Look at Michael Buffer. He trademarked one phrase and made hundreds of millions licensing it. That's the power of ownership. And ownership is the real cheat code. Now here's the part most people never understand. Time itself is an asset. Wealthy people know how to turn time into money and then use money to buy more time. That's how businesses scale. At first, you work alone. Then eventually, you hire people. Now multiple people are producing value simultaneously. That's leverage. And leverage is what creates freedom. Because there are only two ways to become wealthy. Either you work more hours or you own assets that multiply your effort. The second option scales forever. And the craziest part is that most people spend their entire lives buying liabilities trying to look rich. Expensive cars, designer clothes, luxury apartments. Meanwhile, truly wealthy people are quietly buying assets in the background because they understand something average people don't. Looking rich and being rich are completely different games. One gives you attention, the other gives you freedom. So if you want to build wealth, stop focusing only on income. Focus on ownership. Own stocks, own businesses, own skills, own systems, own assets. Because every asset you buy is another employee working for you 24/7. And eventually, your assets make more money than your job ever could. That's when the game changes. And before you go, I made a free stock guide to picking the best stocks. It includes a simple screener to help you find high-quality companies to invest in long-term. You can find it in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more content on money, investing, and financial freedom.